You're watching the show that puts Mid-Michigan news in focus. This is Focal Point.
It's been an extremely cold and snowy winter so far, but how cold exactly? Find out next on Focal Point.
Tonight on Focal Point, learn about a proposed Michigan bill that'll affect interns.
And a suspect was arrested in connection to the murder of an MSU student earlier this month. Focal Point starts now. Good evening, I'm Tiara Morocco.
And I'm Kevin Burrows. Welcome to Focal Point. It's been a brutal winter here in mid-Michigan with plenty of wind chill warnings and snow to go around for weeks. Many folks in the area are dreading 6 more weeks of winter, according to Punxsutawney Phil. Focal Point's Connor Wilton explains how this historic winter is affecting people in mid-Michigan and how students are handling the winter chill.
It's been one of the coldest and snowiest winters in recent memory. But just how bad has it been?
I'd say it's probably one of the worst winters we've had so far.
Sinclair Lewis once said that winter is not a season, it's an occupation. With the amounts of snow and sub-zero temperatures the Lansing area has received this season, that quote is proving to be quite true.
It's really harsh and it's just been freezing cold. It's been giving me a lot of car trouble.
According to the National Weather Service, Lansing has received 40 inches of snowfall, which is well above the average of 30 inches for this time of year.
You definitely have to plan ahead before you leave out.
Not only have we seen heavy snowfall, but WLNS meteorologist Jake Dunn says the weather has been very cold and very dangerous.
When we're talking about air temperatures around 15 below zero, and more importantly wind chills at times 40 to 45 below, I mean that's very dangerous. You're talking frostbite within 5 to 10 minutes.
Frostbite was a major concern for many MSU students who requested that the school cancel classes a couple weeks back.
I think it was more of like a, really we have to go out than anything.
When MSU did not, several students voiced their displeasure with the school on Twitter using the hashtag #MakeLuannaWalkToWork. It's been a historic winter for mid-Michigan so far, but with over half of winter remaining, extreme cold and more snow is very likely.
I would not be surprised at all, though, to see more sub-zero. Hopefully it will be with, again, clear, calm conditions. That's one thing. I think most people can deal with that much more easily than they can when we have the high winds.
So what have students been doing to stay warm?
On Tuesday, I actually wore my ski goggles to class, so that helped out a lot. I wasn't crying as much, walking to class.
Making sure I have my hat and gloves when I go out, just the old school way.
And for some more perspective on just how cold it's been?
Since the first day of winter, the days above freezing in Lansing, 9. The days below zero, 12.
For Focal Point, I'm Connor Wilton.
Even though the sun was shining several days this week, don't expect it to last long. More frigid temperatures are on the way next week, with highs below freezing and lows reaching single digits once again. Governor Rick Snyder agrees with the famous groundhog that we may be seeing a bit more of winter. In the fairly unusual move, the governor called a news conference this past week, urging homeowners, businesses, and drivers to prepare for severe weather approaching.
We don't want to assume winter's over with in terms of winter weather, in terms of snow and other conditions such as that. So depending on what part of the state you live, we want to really give people an alert to say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to add extra precautions and protections with respect to these weather conditions.
The governor also warned of flooding throughout the state with a large amount of rain melting the snow, but later on in the week turning into high winds and freezing temperatures once again. To learn what to do before, during, and after an emergency, you can visit the Michigan State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security website at michigan.gov/EMHSD.
After a 3-week investigation, police now have someone in custody for the murder of Michigan State sophomore Dominique Nolf at the Cedar Village apartment complex. 19-year-old Marquay McCoy was arrested Tuesday night by Grand Rapids police on a parole violation. Police surrounded a house in Grand Rapids in a standoff with McCoy, who surrendered after more than an hour. He is believed to be connected to the January 31st shooting death of Dominique Nolf, as well as injuring Nolf's roommate, MSU student Corbin Holwerda. As you may have seen, East Lansing police released surveillance images of the suspect earlier this month, showing the man who they believe might be McCoy arriving right before the shooting and leaving just minutes later.
To get Mr. McCoy off the street is huge, number one, and number two, it gives us a little bit of time with him in custody to cross our T's, dot our I's.
McCoy was arraigned Thursday on charges of tampering with an electronic monitoring device, as well as being a repeat offender. Police have not brought McCoy to East Lansing yet and have not charged him with homicide. As the ELPD comes closer to answers for one grieving family, there was more tragedy for the MSU community last weekend. Bath Township Police responded to a 911 call of a subject lying in the middle of I-69 last Saturday. Right by the East Lansing exit, officers found 19-year-old Dustin Frolka lying in distress after it appeared he was hit by a car. The investigation is being treated as a homicide until detectives learn otherwise. Anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Sergeant Gary Smith at the Bath Township Police Department.
College students are under a lot of pressure to get internships in their field before graduation, and paid internships are hard to come by. Focal Point's Mara Thompson takes a look at the difficulties students are going through to rack up the experience and how one Michigan legislator is fighting for their rights.
Internships are becoming crucial for college students. Last year, 63% of graduates had at least one on their resume. But students say it's hard when they're unpaid.
I was living in New York with spending all my money on housing and everything for doing an unpaid internship. Like, that's how much I was giving in to get something for my resume.
MSU senior Paige Wassel has done 3 unpaid internships and says it's worth it being able to put the big names on her resume.
The thing is with internships, unless it becomes a law that they should be paid, people will offer to do them for free. Because I know that summer I really needed something for my resume, and if they hired someone else for $9 an hour, I would have been like, hey, like, I'll do it for free.
Yet an unpaid internship could come with bigger problems, as it has recently been discovered that harassment and discrimination laws in most states do not cover unpaid workers. And here at the Capitol, Representative David Knisik is pushing for all unpaid employees, including interns, to be protected.
Sometimes you pass laws and you think that when they come under legal scrutiny that they will apply to everybody, and what you find when you go to court is that maybe that those laws don't.
David Knisik is referring to the 1976 Elliott Larson Act that protects employees from discrimination and harassment, but doesn't include unpaid interns. So Knisik introduced a bill that does.
Introduced this bill to make sure that all of our workers, volunteers, interns, specifically students who are trying to gain additional credit for college, are protected under the law if they're the victims of sexual harassment or any other type of sort of attack on who they are and their character.
Knisik said a lawsuit in New York is what influenced him to introduce this bill, and is confident it'll pass through the House.
It's extremely important that something gets put into place.
Students agree this bill is important for their safety. For Focal Point, I'm Mara Thompson.
The bill will be read over twice more on the House floor before representatives will vote on the subject. Students no longer have to choose between skipping class or facing contempt charges. Governor Snyder signed a bill this week allowing full-time college students in Michigan to postpone jury duty if they can prove it would not interfere with their class schedule. Snyder says the law gives students time to focus on their education while giving them a chance to fulfill their civic responsibility after the school year is over. A simple exemption is already in place for high school students.
Local flower shops and couples kept busy as Valentine's Day quickly approached last Friday. It's one of the busiest days for florists, and this year was no exception.
Valentine's Day.
It's been said that flowers mean I'm sorry and chocolates say I love you, but on this special day, these two items are both used to express love. Employees here at BA Florists put a lot of time into preparation for Valentine's Day, their busiest day of the year. Linda Grua, a BA employee for over 20 years, says that the planning process begins right away and that orders start coming in late January.
We probably start preparing the day after Valentine's Day, just thinking about what was a good seller, how we can improve ourselves. Probably start ordering the flowers in December.
The traditional dozen of red roses are their most popular seller, with close to 500 orders just for Valentine's Day.
Since it's a fresh product, we can't make things until the day before, but there's lots of things to do to get ready. We've got to order cards and wrapping paper and all those things.
The employees at BA Florists are not the only ones who have been planning and preparing for Valentine's Day.
Communications senior Nick Naraki planned a surprise evening for his girlfriend of 5 years.
So she thinks that we're just doing like a movie night, you know, like in PJs, just popcorn and candy. But really, I have it planned just to get P.F. Chang's like all to go. And then I got her roses, I got a dozen of them, but I saved 5 of them for the 5 years that we've spent Valentine's Day together. And then the other 7, I tore out the petals and then spread on her bed.
Even after all these years, Naraki feels that celebrating Valentine's Day together is still special.
For us, it just means a day to, you know, like appreciate each other and show us how we appreciate each other, whether it's with gifts or the time we spend together.
Vases or wrapping, roses or daisies, a dozen or a single, Valentine's Day keeps BA Florist extremely busy for weeks up until the big day.
Definitely the busiest day. Definitely the busiest day. It is fun. Love is in the air. People are happy. They're doing nice things for other people, so it's great. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. We work long hours, but it's it's a happy time to make people happy.
And we spoke to students across campus to find out what they really think about Valentine's Day and how important it is to celebrate.
Oh, Valentine's Day. I mean, when I have time, I kind of celebrate it, but I feel like it's just something you do when you have time.
I mean, I really think it's kind of a stupid holiday, but I don't really like to go around saying that because there are a lot of people who do find it special, so.
I don't really mind it. I don't really care all that much about Valentine's Day.
I kind of feel that, you know, most guys don't like it and they try to use Valentine's Day, their hate for Valentine's Day as an excuse to not do anything, and then girls like to use Valentine's Day as an excuse to do something.
I've had people on Valentine's Day and I've had Valentine's Days alone, so.
I think it's a cute holiday. I mean, my mom celebrates it and it makes me feel loved, so it's cute.
Valentine's Day would be great if I had anyone to spend it with. Sometimes you feel kind of lonely alone, but I've never really taken Valentine's Day that seriously.
They should really plan to do things outside of Valentine's Day and then treat it as kind of like a Valentine's Day celebration instead of waiting till Valentine's Day to do it and then having people's expectations be misaligned.
Personally, I love celebrating Valentine's Day. What do you think?
I love Valentine's Day too. Any day that I can eat as much chocolate as I want, I definitely will. Up next on Focal Point, MSU President Luanna K. Simon gave her annual State of the University address, but some students outside the Wharton Center are not so happy. Plus,
coming up on Focal Point, find out what first-generational college students are doing here at Michigan State University to be successful students.
They've been called leaders, lifesavers, and world changers. They're also called Spartans. There are moments of triumph, of discovery, and achievement. But what makes these moments possible? It's the early mornings, the late nights. It's having the will to persevere. So let's take a moment to celebrate. But more importantly, let's salute the will it takes to get there. Spartans will.
Students and faculty were able to reflect on the past year at MSU during the annual State of the University address.
And some students left the cold outside for some ice inside. Tia Graham joins us now to tell us those stories and more on our campus report. Tia?
Thanks, Tiara. The plans for MSU in the next year and the future were presented when Michigan State University President Luanna K. Simon gave her annual State of the University speech at the Wharton Center last week. President Simon talked about the important strides MSU is taking to expand research areas and new technologies that can be used as learning tools. Tuition was a hot-button topic, with Simon saying the university understands tuition is too high. But with a 6.1 increase in state funding, Simon says it's like a small weight lifted.
We now have a 6.1% recommendation from the governor, which has a tuition restraint language, which gives us about a little bit less than 4% to work with, so it's a breath of fresh air.
The State of the University speech was calm inside the Wharton Center, but outside it got a little loud. While President Simon spoke of tuition issues in her speech, some students are saying the university is not doing enough.
Go green, go white, join the high tuition fund. This is what it sounded like outside of the Wharton Center as bundled up students were out with their signs and their voices to take a stand against tuition hikes at MSU.
Their time here has been
Inside the Wharton Center, President Luana K. Simon talked about the future of the university.
And we know that tuition is too high. And we've tried to solve part of that in access by being very aggressive in financial aid.
We're here to protest the state of the university addressed by President Simon. We want them to recognize that the students are also part of this university.
Michael Everson Frank is a senior history major at MSU and feels the burden of high tuition costs.
The tuition has become unaffordable at this institution. They give you the dynamic where state funding decreases. That's why they have to raise tuition.
Here in this MSU classroom, students learn skills that help them prepare for the real world, but those skills come at a price. Tuition at MSU for an in-state incoming freshman is $21,764 a year. Out-of-state students pay twice as much at $42,652 a year. And international students pay the most at $49,798 a year.
This semester I'll be at about 50 to 60,000, somewhere in that ballpark.
Many students can see the debt approaching after graduation.
I'm hoping that my charismatic personality and light toned beard will convince employers that I'm worth hiring, and eventually I'll be able to pay it back.
Jolise Race doesn't get any help from her parents and is seeing firsthand how hard it is to get an education.
I go to school here all on loans. I don't get any help from my parents, and it really shouldn't be such a struggle to get an education. It's my right as a human being to have an education.
These students made sure their voices were heard. Michigan State University's endowment has reached over $2 billion. That total is double what the university's endowment was in 2004. During the 2008 financial collapse, the fund suffered major losses, but strong investment returns and strategy have allowed the value to soar. For many MSU students, they are the first ones in their family to go to college. They are called the first-generation students, and this comes with many challenges as parents and students struggle to understand and acclimate to the university culture. Focal Point's Kevin Burrows shows us how many are adapting to college life.
When Tyler Glombowski started applying for college, he had no idea where to start.
Being a first-generation college student is definitely difficult.
The 21-year-old hospitality business junior was struggling with the application process and the financial aid.
There's a lot of expectation and a lot of pressure from your family to exceed, to excel in your academic and social life.
Glombowski is a first-generational college student. That means he's the first one in his immediate family to go to college of any kind.
And Mom and Dad did a lot for me in high school. And when I moved to college, it was a realization for me that I had to grow up and I had to learn my own ways.
John Ambrose, the Associate Director in the Office of Admissions here at Michigan State University, says a lot of students share the same struggles when it comes to becoming a college student.
From finances to really sometimes fitting in.
Glombowski struggled with a lot more things than just finances.
Being on your own, like cooking, cleaning, living on your own.
According to Ambrose, students need to work on the power of networking and get engaged with their peers, RA, faculty, and professors.
It's all about deadlines and stuff. I write down everything, like all my homework and stuff, so I don't forget anything because I don't want to fail out and disappoint my family.
About 25% of students who get accepted through this Office of Admissions are first-generational college students.
Whether it's for tutoring services, financial assistance, housing assistance, books, computers, whatever it is, there's resources available for students here on campus.
After using all the resources MSU offers, Glombowski now feels like he has the hang of things and can focus on graduating.
Spartan community is such an amazing one, and it helped me push through my first year here and excel.
For Focal Point, I'm Kevin Burrows.
Students can reach out to the Office of Admissions here at MSU for any questions they might have. Last week, a small huddle of people braved the cold to commemorate one of Michigan State's oldest buildings, the recently demolished Morrill Hall. Touchscreen monitors were put in place at the new Morrill Plaza, offering an interactive way for guests of MSU to see what the research the university is up to. The university built the plaza to honor Morrill Hall, one of Michigan State's most historic sites, which was torn down last fall. MSU President Luana K. Simon attended, along with members of the Morrill family. MSU's med school is making the move to Flint, hoping to expand their existing public health program. Downtown Flint can expect about 100 new students to be strolling the streets, creating promise for the town that was hit hard by the decline of the automotive industry.
The $9 million grant provided by the Mott Foundation will set things in motion for the school to be established next fall. An ice arena doubling as a makeshift casino can be loads of fun, and students were able to try their gaming skill or luck at last week's Dice and Ice. I-17. The event at Munn Ice Arena, put on by the university's activity board, allows students to play blackjack, poker, slots, craps, bingo, and more. The gamblers could then turn their winnings into raffle tickets for a chance to win some prizes like some Rose Bowl swag, an autograph time Izzo basketball, and even a flat screen TV. Of course, there was free skating, plenty of free food, and a photo op with Sparty. Organizers say all of the anticipation paid off.
It's going great. Everything is going awesome. All the vendors are here. We're at about, I think about 700-800 students right now, and students are lining up outside the doors. We have people ice skating and casino games going on. I mean, we've been planning this event for like 4 months, so it's really exciting to see it come to life.
Nearly 2,000 students attended the event at Munn. And that's what's happening on campus. I'm Tia Graham.
Lake sturgeon can grow to be 8 feet long, 300 pounds, and live for hundreds of years. A group of MSU grad students have now taken on a lead role preserving the threatened population of fish in one northern Michigan lake. The annual Black Lake Sturgeon harvest happened earlier this month, and it took only an hour and a half to reach the harvest limit. Graduate student John Bauman of the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife explains how MSU research is used to determine the harvest limit.
It's a huge effort to basically sample as many fish as we can so that we can get a good idea what the population is by looking at the spawning individuals.
Carrie Dammerman also does sturgeon research and says she can become attached to individual fish, making it not always easy during the spearing season.
I individually mark a lot of the fish for some of the behavior stuff we're doing, and so it's hard to see this giant female that you tagged last year get speared. It's like, oh man, that was my data point.
The Department of Natural Resources says the largest fish taken out of the lake this year weighed 90 pounds. Up next, we'll have highlights from the men's and women's basketball games last weekend.
And we'll tell you about one Olympic athlete from right here in Michigan.
When I was green, greener than the hill, where flowers grew and the sun shone still. Now I'm darker than the deepest sea. Just hand me down, give me a place to be.
The Spartans men's basketball team is having an up-and-down season this year, especially with injuries plaguing the team for most of the way. Now Thursday night, the Spartans traveled to Purdue hoping to come home with a convincing win, and win they did. The Spartans hit a school record 17 three-pointers. Gary Harris and Adrian Payne combined for 10 of those threes. Harris finished up the night with 25 points, and Keith Appling came off the bench with 9 assists, playing his second game after missing 3 straight with an injury. The Spartans easily handled the Purdue Boilermakers 94-79. Earlier in the week, the Nebraska Cornhuskers entered the Breslin Center winless since 1994 as they look to turn their luck around. The Spartans, now, they started out sort of sluggish in this game, giving up 3-pointers in the first opening minutes as Nebraska quickly went on a 16-2 run. Keith Appling, who was not originally in the lineup, entered the game as a sub and played limited minutes most of the way. Nebraska's Teran Petaway scored 23 points to keep the Cornhuskers ahead for most of that game. The Spartans gave a late surge in the final 5 minutes, pulling within 2 points, but even with the help from the Izzone, MSU could not pull it off. Missing key baskets in the final minutes, the Cornhuskers shocked the fans at the Breslin Center 60-51. Spartan foul-plagued Spartan team was not able to win that game.
We got what we deserve, and the only guy that takes the blame for that is me, because it's my job to get them ready to play, and we didn't look ready to play. And so for that, don't blame them, blame me.
MSU travels to Ann Arbor on Sunday, hoping to avenge their earlier season loss to the Wolverines, which happened at the Breslin Center. The 25th ranked MSU women's basketball team was in action Thursday night against Wisconsin and came away with a 10-point win, 76-66. Earlier in the week, they hosted Ohio State, hoping to break their home losing streak against the Buckeyes. Nearly 10,000 fans came out for the annual Play for K breast cancer awareness game, with everyone, including the team, band, cheerleaders, and fans, donning pink outfits. Michigan State was hoping to bounce back after losing to Nebraska last week, and they started on the right path with a 17-2 run closing the first half. Spartans' defense was also pretty powerful with a season high of 57 rebounds, and senior forward Annalise Pickrell led the Spartans with 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Pickrell says the big crowd helped with the enthusiasm of the team, leading them to a 70-49 victory over Ohio State.
When we come to the guys' games, it's like sweet because they have so many people here, and we're always talking about, like, you know, what if there was that many people at our games, how sweet would we play? But I think the crowd, really gets into our energy when we, you know, get steals and transition and stuff like that. So having energy on our end is really important.
It was the Spartans' first win in East Lansing against Ohio State since 2009. One former Spartan is currently in Sochi, Russia, as part of the men's U.S. Olympic hockey team. Ryan Miller and his family have a long lineage here at MSU, where 9 of his family members have skated for the Spartans and have more than a combined 50 seasons in the National Hockey League. Miller still remains friendly with Jonathan Quick, who took his place as starting goalie for the U.S. team. And the U.S. team came up short in the semifinal, losing 1-0 to Canada. They'll be playing for the bronze medal on Saturday against Finland. Most football fans can agree Super Bowl 48 was a real snoozer this year, except for those who watch just for the commercials. That describes the guests at the ad party hosted during the game by the MSU Department of Advertising and Public Relations in the College of Communication Arts and Sciences. Organizers decided to move the event this year from Professor Bob Colt's house to Pizza House to accommodate just how big the event has become in recent years. Those at the party rated the ads live using a clicker to score the commercials. Bob Colt says some of the best rated ads, according to the faculty, aired during the final 2 minutes of the game, such as the Budweiser Puppy Love ad and the Doritos ad. Colt talks about one of the more disappointing ads during a year that he says was just disappointing overall.
I think from our perspective, the Chrysler Bob Dylan ad that was really controversial, America imported, it was not very successful. It was a little too dark and just not really clear, saying the great thing about American is America. It was just a poorly written spot.
Professor Colt is already anticipating his next ad party. He only hopes that the Detroit Lions are playing in next year's game. That's what's happening in sports. I'm Nick Blaskowski.
The 8th longest running Broadway musical in history is currently playing at the Wharton Center.
Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast.
Disney's Beauty and the Beast Broadway musical has been performing since Tuesday and will run through the weekend. The musical contains 6 songs from the Academy Award-nominated feature film. The musical has logged over 15,000 performances in more than 120 cities and 21 countries. Roxy York, who plays Wardrobe, says it was her dream to perform in this musical.
Every time I hear that opening few notes of Belle, I get shivers. It's amazing. It's truly magic happens through the music and through the heart of these characters, and the extravagance of the costumes and the sets. It's magic.
It's so magical, like literally being in a story that you've watched and you've wished to be a part of, like in that literal of a way. So.
And finally tonight, on November 6, 2013, Spartans from all over the world were asked to record themselves during an average day in their life.
On 6 continents and 18 time zones, everyday lives of MSU current and past students were put into a video montage. We're going to leave you tonight with a preview of Spartans 360-24.
But before we go, we'd like to wish a very happy birthday Saturday to our executive producer, Bob Gold. Good night, everyone.
November 6th, 2013.
fun to come in at this hour and then just watch the world wake up.
Good morning, MSU. How are you feeling today, Spartans?
And I'm currently waiting for my 5th grade students to enter the building.
I am in Lusaka, Zambia. I'm an MD PhD student.
Okay, we're here. Where are we? Gyeongbokgung Palace.
In a couple hours, I'm going to the bank to apply for a loan to buy a house.
And I am in Havana, Cuba today on the 6th of November.